Okay, so I would like to introduce our speaker today, Dr. Diana Raab. She's a memoirist, say that 5 times fast, poet, blogger, speaker, award-winning author of 9 books. She's been writing since she was at the age of 10, when she got a journal to help her cope with her grandmother's death. She's going to be talking to us today about the importance of gratitude as an essential component of psychological, physical, and spiritual well-being. So even if you're dealing with life challenges, there's always elements of our life to be thankful for. So this week, Thanksgiving, we've been through a terrible year, right? I figured this would be a great time for us to have a speaker on gratitude. So thank you for Dr. Diana Raab for being here, and we'll turn it over to you. And we can actually put you on speaker view. I think we can put you on speaker view.
Is it okay that I record this as well?
Oh, definitely.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Hi, hello everybody, and welcome to Today Monday. I'm speaking to you from my home in Southern California. And the subject of today's little chat will be maintaining an attitude of gratitude, which, as Sylvia said, is a great subject for this week of Thanksgiving. It's been a tough year, 2020, and for this reason, my talk is not going to discuss the trials and tribulations that we've encountered in recent months and continue to encounter, but my intention is to focus on all that we do have to be grateful for. You can't hear me. Somebody can't hear me.
Oh,
is that better?
I forgot to mention the chat room. The chat, if you touch the screen, you'll see chat. You can put a message in there.
Can you hear me now? Some people said they couldn't hear me.
It is you are a little muted. Yeah.
I've got everything turned up here. How is that? Is that better?
Yes, okay. I think so.
I'll speak, I'll project.
Good.
So as I was saying, my intention is not to focus on the negatives and all the things that we've been through this past year or so, but I want to focus on all that we've got to be grateful for. After all, this is Thanksgiving week. Many of us will agree that in spite of the personal, national, and universal challenges, that we do have much to be grateful for. For those of you who've lost loved ones this year, please accept my deep condolences. Loss is never easy, but loss during a pandemic presents a new set of complications and difficulties, especially since funerals and gatherings to honor our loved ones are unsafe and forbidden in most parts of the country. So what is gratitude? Gratitude is about feeling love and appreciation for ourselves and for others. As poet Pablo Neruda says, you can pick all the flowers, but you cannot stop the spring. At times, many of us take our lives for granted and tend to not express gratitude enough. Perhaps the pandemic has changed our way in this regard. Many people have told me that they are very grateful for life's little things these days, such as a phone call, a letter, or an email. It's also good for our psychological well-being to permeate every day with gratitude and, of course, the gift for life. I had my 5th grandchild born this year, and even though it was scary during a pandemic, it was such a blessing, so I was counting my blessings in that regard. This is one of my favorite holidays for that reason, because I do believe gratitude should be a built-in part of our everyday life. Expressing it is like keeping a tuning fork alive and vibrating the joy throughout the universe. In one of my recent books called Writing for Bliss, some of you might have checked it out already, and in my journaling workshops, I devote a lot of time to teaching gratitude journaling excuse me, because it's really important just getting your thoughts on the page. It could really make you feel different. It's a good release, and it's also uplifting. Documenting in the gratitude journal is a great reminder of what you have to be thankful for. It's also quite helpful to look back on what you wrote, to put a smile on your face and perhaps provide some perspective. And as Sylvia mentioned, I started journaling at the age of 10. My grandmother took her life in my childhood home. It was in the 60s, and my mother didn't quite know what to do. Therapy wasn't a big thing. And so she went out and bought me a Kahal Gibran journal. And just said, write your thoughts, just write and write and write. And so from an early age, I learned that writing is healing. And still this many years later, I'm still writing. I'm 66, so that's a lot of decades, but I love it, and I love sharing my passion with others. Studies have shown that those who are grateful are able to express gratitude more easily. Sorry, I said that wrong. Studies have shown that those who are grateful are happier because they express it more readily. Some of you might have heard of writer Oliver Sacks, who passed away in 2015 after a battle with pancreatic cancer. And he said that having gratitude was responsible for keeping him alive. Even though he knew his life was coming to an end, he was grateful for the opportunity to look back and see his last days in the context of his entire life, and doing this with a deep sense of connection to himself and his loved ones. Sacks actually said that while he was afraid of dying, his predominant emotion at the end of his life was gratitude. Knowing that he was dying made him feel more alive. Some people might have heard others say that as well. He was able to do all the things he wanted to do before he transitioned, such as deepen his friendships, say goodbye to loved ones, travel, which we can't do right now, but achieve new levels of insight and write. For those at the end of life, writing can also be very cathartic and healing. It's also an invaluable gift of legacy for those left behind. I was actually blessed to find my grandmother's journal. She was an orphan in World War I, and she wrote about her experience losing her parents. Really gave me a perspective of, wow, we do have it good these days, don't we? Just looking for her mother's body in the, in the big infirmary with a lot of people. And so, it was really great for giving me a perspective, and I'm very grateful that she shared and left it for me. Can everybody still hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Another way to foster happiness and gratitude is try to remain in the moment rather than thinking about the past or the present. And we all know that's not always easy, but as the Dalai Lama says, there are only 2 days in the year that nothing can be done. One is called yesterday, and the other one is called tomorrow. So today is the day to love, believe, and mostly live. One more way to foster happiness is to honor our traditions and our rituals, and Thanksgiving is a really good example of that. The way we celebrate the holidays this year will no doubt be different from previous years. However, as we've all come to learn, there are alternate ways to connect with our loved ones, such as Zoom, FaceTime, and various other ways, writing letters. And they can really help, this all can help get us through these challenging times of uncertainty. Over the years, the idea of Thanksgiving really hasn't changed, but what's changed is what we're thankful for. At this time, it's helpful to be grateful for those small life pleasures that we have every day. Perhaps a provider or a service has been useful for you. For me personally here, because I'm high risk and have an immunity issue, Instacart has been amazing. I don't know what I would have done without it, as I didn't want to expose my husband or my kids to going to the store either. So I'm very grateful for them delivering my food a few times a week. Sometimes they pick fruit that's not great, but that's just a small inconvenience. It's a wonderful time to count our blessings rather than focus on what's missing in our lives. It's okay to be sad if we need to be sad, but it's still important to count our blessings. This year, it might mean cooking a smaller turkey or something similar, or ordering takeout. Hopefully, we are all blessed to have food and a roof over our heads. And I just love all the things that you women are doing in your own community to help those that do not have a roof over your head. I send out congratulations and kudos to you. That's just wonderful to hear before my talk, you all sharing what you're doing for others. That's beautiful. It's also important to remember that this year, the way we're doing things is different, but it's also a temporary scenario and we will get through it. Sharing in holiday traditions also keeps us all connected and united. So while celebrating on a small scale in our homes, let's remember to spread the gratitude to loved ones, as many of you are. Also, to strangers living near and far. You might have your own ideas, as some of you do, but here are some other ways that I've suggested to my colleagues and friends. Light candles for loved ones who've passed away, and I usually do that at the small Thanksgiving table. Write letters of thanks via snail mail or email. It's really a good time to get a new box of stationery and send someone letters. I sent snail mail birthday cards during COVID this year, and it's amazing how much people appreciate it. And send out Thanksgiving cards, give food baskets to those in need, volunteer and donate to a food bank. As I said earlier, ever since childhood, Thanksgiving's been my favorite holiday. And it's true that most of our passions do begin in childhood. My mother was not a great cook, nor was she someone eager to celebrate. Yet once a year, she vowed to celebrate Thanksgiving. Now, as a parent of 3 and grandparent of 5, I realized that I was inspired by her role and hold Thanksgiving as a very cherished holiday. Anyway, what can be bad about a holiday that celebrates gratitude and focuses on food, conversations, and connections with loved ones? Like many of you, my childhood passion for Thanksgiving included a classic turkey dinner, stuffing, mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, pumpkin, and apple pies. A special treat featured on our Thanksgiving table was a chocolate turkey wrapped in tinfoil. Mm. And whoever finished their meal first got the turkey. It was a hollow turkey and people gobbled it up. The children gobbled it up as quickly as they ate their meals. I actually ordered some online this year for my grandchildren. They're just tiny little ones, and they have turkey colors painted on the outside. Kind of cute. When my children were younger, we had a tradition of going to homes to feed the homeless, to going to sites to feed the homeless when we lived in Orlando, Florida. We arrived at the shelters in the morning to see people lined up for special Thanksgiving feasts. We'd serve all their meals, or their lunch actually. Some of the helpers were involved in food prep, others were serving, and others just made jokes. My son was a joker, and he used to go around making jokes to everyone there. And it's amazing how grateful they all were for that one warm, wonderful meal. And I remember how great my kids felt for doing that. We had deep gratitude for our lifestyle, and it was really a pleasure to watch others feast. It brought smiles onto their faces for many hours. So I view Thanksgiving as a time to pause, reflect, and connect with loved ones, however we can, or other significant ones in our lives. As a journaling advocate, I've taught journaling and writing over 4 decades. Each November, as I said, I make a real habit of before bed doing some gratitude journaling. And while some of the things that I journal are similar from day to day, they do change with the seasons, especially this past year. Also, writing letters is another really great thing that I mentioned before. A few years ago on Thanksgiving, we played a game at the Thanksgiving table. It was called the Appreciation Chair. And this is something that you could do on FaceTime and Zoom as well. One person sat in a chair at a time, and each person around the table was given a pad. And on that pad, they were to write what they were grateful about for that person. Everyone had a chance to sit in the chair. At the end, we took turns reading out loud what we'd written. And it was really heartwarming to hear some of the things that people are thankful for, things that we might have done for them that we had no idea, we forgot, but it left a real mark on them. So it has deep effects. I once heard a story about another family playing this game. The mother had reported years later that her son kept a list in his pocket and when he went off to war. And years later, when he was found dead on the battlefield, the list was still in his pocket. His mother said that she believed it gave him strength and power to fight in the service. And this made her feel really good. So we can do that on Zoom calls as well, or FaceTime, telling people what we appreciate about them, because everybody has something good to offer. I've recently created something called conversation cards, for meaningful storytelling. And these are something that we're going to use on our Zoom calls this year. Just cards that we're going to kind of hold up to each other and ask questions like, what are you most grateful for? What is your favorite family tradition? What's your biggest lesson in life? And it's just good for sparking conversation and offering gratitude for stories. Stories, I mean, that's what kind of holds us together as a society. Years ago, I love Hawaii. I'm very inspired by Hawaii. And, you know, they do a lot of storytelling out that way, and in Africa too. And so it's really a good way to unite families. These cards, by the way, if anyone's interested, are good stocking stuffers. This is not a sales pitch, but I'm just like sharing. Some of you might ask. And they're available on Amazon and Etsy. So there's different ways you can bring families together to express gratitude and to share stories. Above all, I believe that cultivating an attitude of gratitude is not that hard, but it's a practice just like any other practice that we have to work on every day, not just Thanksgiving. Given everything that's happening in the world, there's no better time than the present to stop and give thanks for all that's good. And to constantly remind ourselves of the importance of incorporating gratitude, even when you might not feel like it. Even if somebody brings you a glass of water. My husband brought me a glass of water before the talk, and normally he would just close the door. I said, thank you. Just little things like that can make a big difference. Sometimes we just forget. If this is a difficult time for you, if you've experienced a loss, and I can understand how you might feel, and sometimes it's just hard to feel grateful. It just takes a real effort. You might feel sad or lonely. Perhaps you want to be by yourself, and that's okay too. But I urge you to try to reach out to someone else that might also be lonely, because you could both feel better by communicating. My mother's in an assisted living in New York, and you know, they're on lockdown for the third time. They were having visitors outside, they're on lockdown again, and just the loneliness factor is just, you know, huge. Just a phone call makes all the difference, or a card in the mail. Especially with all else that's going on in our world and the pandemic, it's really important to just pause and count our blessings. I'd like to end with a poem honoring Thanksgiving and basically gratitude in general. It's called, I'm Thankful for You. Thanksgiving is the appointed time for focusing on the good in our lives. In each of our days, we can find blessings, but too often we overlook them, choosing instead to spend our time paying attention to our problems. We give our energy to those who cause us trouble instead of those who give us peace. Starting now, Let's be on the lookout for the bits and pleasures in each hour and appreciate the people who bring love and light to everyone and to us, and say that we are blessed to know them. On Thanksgiving, I'm thankful for you. Happy Thanksgiving, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you. I know that we had at least one question. You can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Thank you, Sylvia. I just wanted to clarify that appreciation game. It sounded really great for Thanksgiving or, any time. So I just wanted to clarify, did you say that you would get in the chair and you would go around the room and say what you appreciated for each person in the room?
Yeah, that's a good question, Susan. It was kind of hard to explain. So one person, let's just picture a long,
Yes.
rectangle table. So the appreciation chair, let's say, would be at the end, at the head of the table.
Yes.
Everyone gets their pad. And so let's say, Susan, you're at the end, and so the moderator would say, okay, everybody write what you like, what are you grateful for about Susan on one sheet of paper. And then maybe 2 sheets of paper, maybe 3 sheets of paper, I don't know. And actually in a physical situation, then one person would collect it and read out all the answers. But if you're doing, and for that one person, and then when they're finished, and all those pages to that person.
Understood. So everybody gets the same amount of gratitude from each member of the group.
Right. Some people, I guess, don't get as many kudos as others. That's kind of,
well, you hope that you've got something, that they've got something good to talk about after all these years.
That's right.
Okay. Hey, thank you for clarifying that. Understood. I like it.
You use it.
I will.
Anybody else have any other questions for Dr. Raab?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. When my parents turned 80, we did something very similar. We all are in different places in the country, and we sent, and it wasn't always just gratitude, it was just memories, and they had through the year this memory jar to pull one out every day, which they did. And it would be a great recollection or a nice thank you for, that memory, for them. So that was a fun thing to do too. And they went through the jar a couple times. So we all thought of 5 things, and then my sister put them together and put little strips and put it in a cute little jar. So
I have a comment. If you have anybody in your family or friends that are first responders or nurses, doctors, we sent them thank you cards a couple of months ago, and they were very appreciative of that. So you might consider something like that. They're very surprised to get that. But okay.
Did you say these are people in your family?
Yeah, we have a couple of nurses and a firefighter, and we just sent them a thank you card with a note on it saying that we appreciate what they're doing. And that was when the pandemic was really, really with a lot of people suffering from it back in June. But it was just something that they didn't expect to have or to get. And they were really, they liked it, So if you do have anybody in your family or friends, you might consider doing something like that. Made us feel good.
We've lost the art of actually writing cards and writing thank yous, and we've just lost it because we're in the technology age.
Yeah.
So, I'll just write an email. That's good enough. I'll send an e-card, but there's nothing that I think that people get so very touched by an actual mailed card, something you get in the mail.
I agree, Sylvia, and I think people hang on to it longer. You may
Mhm.
keep it and
Yeah.
then, pull it out, or it's just that remembrance. No, you're right. Getting a personal card is much appreciated. Yeah, good point.
Well, I totally agree with that. I think about all the Christmas cards that we used to get years ago. I mean, we used to get a whole bunch. Now we only just get a couple, but everything else is online or, a text, or everything's electronic, or, but yeah, all those handwritten little notes and were really great.
The nice thing about the written cards is, at least for me, is I've saved them through the years, and I can sit down one afternoon and just kind of go through them and remember a note from my mother or my sons or whatever. It just really moves.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Beautiful. There's an online company called All Port Editions. They have beautiful cards, because sometimes it's hard now for us to go to stores. And you can buy packages, or you can buy individual ones, birthday, anniversary, or just general.
Could you put that out in the chat? We can write that down.
Yeah, because we're having a hard time hearing you again. I don't know. Yeah. But that would be good.
I've got my volume turned up.
Huh.
I hear you just fine.
As far as
I'm on my phone. I don't know if that makes a difference.
I don't know either.
As far as being grateful, lifting your mood, I've started doing something, and it doesn't involve journaling. I know journaling is a really good thing to do. I am just not disciplined to do journaling. But I heard it somewhere, and I've started doing it. I'm really feeling it does make a difference. Before I go to sleep at night, I think of 3 things that I'm grateful for that from that day, and it doesn't have to be big things, just little things that I'm grateful for. And I think what it does is it kind of lifts your mood, because it gets you during the day. I start thinking, oh, I'm grateful for this. I can think of this tonight before I go to sleep. So it kind of gets you in a more positive mood instead of thinking about, oh, I'm missing. And as I say, it doesn't have to be big things, but it helps. It helps me anyway. So I just thought I'd share that.
Yeah, I might share something about journaling. For a long time, I've always kept a notebook. And in the notebook, if I'm struggling with something, or I'm upset about something, or trying to figure something out, I'll just journal and write it out. And just the act of writing it kind of helps me think it through. And then when I, I might do that 1 or 2 days, and then I might stop for a month or something, or longer, until I'm upset about something again. But the other thing, you'd think, well, that's kind of negative, but actually it's positive, because then I'll go back periodically and I'll look at it and I'll see and think, oh, well, that worked out okay. I got that, it wasn't so bad. So it's kind of nice to be able to see, that maybe you're concerned about something, but it does get better. It kind of helps you put it in perspective.
Awesome. Gallery view, there was there. Okay, then we speaker view. Okay, well, anybody else have any other questions or comments? I love all your comments. I love the 3 grateful things before you go to sleep. That puts you in a good mood. I think it would help your sleep.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Sylvia. On those nights where you can't get your mind to just shut down for a little while. Oh, there's some times where it's bad. So I think that's a great idea too.
Dr. Raab, do you want to just, you have put all these books together. You just want to talk about your books, or what what you would recommend, or, but, and we've got your website in our newsletter, I see. But, just, you want to just tell us about what you've written? Because you have written, I said 9 books, so that's a lot of writing.
Sure, thank you. First, I think Angie, you had a question, and she was raising her hand.
Oh.
Question?
I guess I'm not seeing that. Let me go to gallery view here.
I don't know.
Uh-oh.
Working.
There you go. Okay. There you go.
Well, I used to teach first grade. So while we were talking, I just thought of a craft for the young elementary school kid, and that is to give each person a feather. This is out of construction paper. And then you ask the family or the children as well to put what they're grateful for on the feather. So I'm grateful for Thanksgiving dinner. I'm grateful for my teacher. I'm grateful for my grandkids, that kind of thing. Just one phrase, one word. And then in the end, you just have 2 big circles. And then one is the turkey's breast, and then the turkey's head with a little gobble gobble thing on there. And then you take feathers and make the turkey with all the things that people are grateful for. So that's for the elementary school kids.
I like that for adults too, though. That would be fun.
It's just a fun craft. Doesn't take long.
Well, and that's something they can take into their life. I mean, they've learned it as a young person. So they can certainly do that in their life.
Sure.
And that's, that's funny you should mention that, because I was just thinking about our Thanksgiving traditions, because I've been here now 12 years and I've had one Thanksgiving with my daughter since then. But with my family here, we used to always go around the table at Thanksgiving and say what we're thankful for, at least one thing. And no, usually it wouldn't be about other people. I love that idea about what you are like about them, but what you're thankful for in your life. And because it is Thanksgiving, right? That was the foundation of our country, and it was a new world, and it was a new venture that our forebears came on. And so they did have Thanksgiving with the plentiful harvest. And it's like that for us. We should be thinking of Thanksgiving as that for us. What can we be thankful for? And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes, you've had rough time, but you really need to just concentrate on that one thing you can still be thankful for, because there's always something you'd be thankful for.
Absolutely. That reminds me, the feather story reminds me, I'm obsessed with feathers. Like my cards, feathers. Because feathers in the Native American world, many of you might know, have to do with truth. So at one Thanksgiving, we passed this feather around, eagle's feather around the table, and whoever was holding it had to tell a story. Really, just holding the feather made everybody be really honest. It was pretty interesting. Someone asked me in the chat about ways to start journaling, suggestions to start journaling, and then I'll go into Sylvia's question after that. So journaling, I have like I said, my book, Writing for Bliss, is all about writing, journaling, it's memoir writing, it's poetry, anything you want to write, it's just writing to make you happy in general. And then Writing for Bliss journal goes with it, and there's all kinds of questions. There are prompts to help you along, and there's lined pages to answer. For example, write about a tough time in your life, what you learned, and what advice you have for others. Write about your most romantic relationship. Write about your relationship with your mother. Write about a transformative moment. And they're all divided into sections and available on Amazon. But if you want to use a regular journal, you just find one that resonates with you and open it up and just start writing. This is really good for new journalists because they don't know what to write. So I teach stream of consciousness journaling, which means just sitting down and saying, right now I feel like, and you could say, you know, I feel sad. And then as you're writing, it could go anywhere. There's no, you know, a couple of speeches in the bunch perhaps. So it's not, there's no essay. It's not like an essay with the beginning, middle, and end. It's kind of like free flow, automatic writing. You could start writing about being sad, then you can end up talking about Thanksgiving, Christmas, a lost relative, a happy time. So it's just kind of goes wherever, and your unconscious mind brings forth some really interesting things that maybe you want to explore even deeper. Does that make sense? Whoever asked that question. Yeah. So, but you can get journaling prompts. I mean, both my books have journaling prompts in them. These are my 2 recent books. And these are good prompts too. These cards were stimulated or inspired by, I had an assistant who was a college student who had a grandmother that she wanted to hear her stories. And she said, Grandma, please tell me stories about your life. I want to learn about you. And Grandma said, I've got so many stories, I don't know where to start. So, and the college student didn't know what to ask. So she said, well, how about we make some conversation cards? Like, what was your favorite thing to do when you were a little girl? What did you think the year 2020 would be like? What is your favorite, you know, singer? What is your favorite movie? That kind of thing. So that's what these cards were stimulated by, that kind of. So these can be used as writing prompts or conversation starters. So they can be used as both. But once you get journaling, it's just very important to date your journals, because sometimes it's fun to look back and compare what your thoughts were.
Yeah.
Amazing. And my first book, in answer to Sylvia's question, was called Regina's Closet, and that was dedicated to my grandmother who committed suicide. I didn't know why she committed suicide, so writing the book was my way to discover. I thought, because I wrote it when I was first diagnosed with breast cancer, and I thought it was in the 60s that she died, that maybe, you know, cancer was kind of like not talked about back then. And so I thought maybe that's why she took her life, but it wasn't. It was just because she had all the childhood trauma of being an orphan. So writing the book helped me discover, like someone was talking about journaling, you know, writing helps you discover things that you weren't aware of. So Regina's Closet was my first book. It's about my relationship with my grandmother and me finding her journal and what she wrote about in her journal. She actually typed it. So it was like all those strikeovers, and I have some pages of the journal in my book. Then my next book was, what was the next book? The next book was Healing with Words, which was about my cancer journey, my first cancer journey. And then my third and fourth books were poetry and essays. And they can all be out, they're all on my website, dianaraab.com. And I'm a poet as well. I like writing poetry, although the pandemic has really not elicited a lot of creativity. I do a lot of blogs. I blog for Psychology Today and the Wisdom Daily. I wrote something today on Thanksgiving, and Thrive Global. But doing longer projects right now seem pretty daunting with the pandemic. I had my kids and grandkids living here for 5 months with me. I was just exhausted. I couldn't do anything. They wanted to leave LA and be away because the numbers were so high there. So I haven't really written anything huge in a while, but I love writing is my passion. Makes me happy. And I'm happy to share it with others. I was teaching memoir workshops in my house before the pandemic. Actually, I had one at the beginning of March, March 5th. For some reason, I said, people were canceling that early. I went, okay, I guess I'm not holding it. Yeah, people were scared. So hopefully I'll go back to them again. I don't know that I'll do online workshops. I do teach on Daily Ohm. I teach a memoir class and then a therapeutic writing class on Daily Ohm. And so I do those too. But that's where I'm at right now. Any questions? Talking fast.
and suddenly hear you better now. I don't know what happened, but
Oh,
that's
really?
good. Yeah,
I haven't done anything different. Maybe
that's weird.
universe is playing games with us.
Weird. Barbara, you look like
I
you.
just wondered, Diana, if you have anything in the works now.
No, I mean, I've got something in the works, but I jinx it when I talk about it, so I'm not talking about it.
Okay.
No, I'm just doing, I've been working on a fiction book for a long time, so I might get back to that. But I've been doing just short blogs and essays and some, not much poetry, but, and I have a monthly newsletter that comes out the first of every month. So that takes some time because I review books on it that other people written. And so, you know, trying to do more reading than I have before, but you can keep up to date on my website. But yeah, I get jinxed easily if I talk too early. So I haven't formulated it in my mind yet. It's just kind of like, you know, like you have all these ingredients on the counter. If you're going to cook, I got all these ingredients. I just don't know what I'm going to make with it, basically.
Awesome. Okay, well, does anybody have any other comments, questions, Thanksgiving past, ideas for being grateful?
Inspiration.
Say that again?
Thanks for the inspiration.
Yes.
Thank you for being here and for taking the time.
Well, thank you. We appreciate presentation. We could all use that. Like when I was just looking around on the internet, oh, gratitude. We could use a big, huge dose of that through this very difficult year. So yeah, no, that's great. I love the chocolate turkeys though. I'm going to have to look for those. That's great. You know, I have two daughters. One's a vegetarian, one's a vegan.
Oh.
There's never going to be any turkey at any of those Thanksgivings, but we could certainly have chocolate turkey.
Well, you know, my son and his family are vegan, and they make a Zaitan turkey. It's basic. It's not turkey like we know turkey, but it's actually quite good.
Yes, tofurkey. You can buy
Tofurkey.
turkey. Mm-hmm.
I bought that for my daughter once when she was a vegetarian. She said it was like rubber, so I don't know.
I actually did make a tofu turkey once in the shape of a turkey. I did. I mean, it was this craziest thing, but I mean, it was Thanksgiving, so I said, okay. It didn't taste, I actually tried it. I mean, it was for her.
Well, we love them so much and we're thankful to have them. We're willing to do just about anything.
Right. Except eat it. Still want my turkey. Well, if we're good. It's been great seeing everybody. One of these days, maybe we can actually see you. And I thank you, Dr. Raab. It was great. And I appreciate your sharing your insights with us and giving us some new ideas of how to be in the holiday and with thankfulness. So thank you very much. Appreciate all you being here.
Are you coming back? Are you coming back, Diana, one day?
Sure, if I'm invited.
How about every quarter we have you come in and talk to us and inspire us again? I think that sounds like a good plan, right, Sylvia?
Yeah, right. Right.
Sure. No problem. Do that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Susan.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sylvia.
Have a great
Bye, guys.
Thanksgiving,
I gotta go.
everybody.
Thank
Happy
you.
Thanksgiving.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Sylvia.
And
Bye,
stay
guys.
safe.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, and happy
Sylvia.
Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah.
You can say leave meeting. Just touch your screen. Oh, Connie too. You just touch your screen. Oh, fiddlesticks. Oh boy.